Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. Next comment or question comes from Game Witch. That's a cracking one, isn't it? I just love the name, Game Witch. You know, you can read that in many different ways. You know, she's a game player. Or she's game to play keyboards. Anyway, this one was in response to the Death of the KRONOS video, a video I did in December 2021. And Game Witch writes, I think part of why the Nautilus exists is probably the last hurrah for the OASYS synth ecosystem. I'm sure the engineers at Korg are more than ready to move on, given how long OASYS has derived ecosystem has been going. I mean, the PCI card was introduced in 1999, and the core engines in the Nautilus are updated versions of what that PCI card offered. That's an absolutely massive amount of time in synthesizer world. In essence, one near continuous project from one manufacturer. I've wanted a KRONOS since they were introduced, but it seems I missed the boat, and with how much a second-hand KRONOS is going for, I'm more than happy to take the cuts that the Nautilus provides. The only one that really bothers me is the removal of aftertouch. Now, I've never understood that, but there was obviously some thinking there. But I think Korg had a price point in mind when designing Nautilus, so both it, in terms of aftertouch, and Karma both ended up on the chopping block for removal. I'm sure I'll be happy with my Nautilus. I prefer its engines to the Roland Phantom, and definitely over the Montage and Modi X. Plus, having prepared piano patches on the board, that is really nice for me personally, as even for a plug-in based stuff's prepared piano, it's not super common. I've seen and heard a lot of comparisons between all the current workstation options, and so far the Nautilus, for me anyway, is at least buying new, is the best fit for my needs. Plus, as someone leaning towards synth stuff, the Nautilus has far more to offer for me personally than the other options from Roland coming in second. Now, I've got to be honest and say I really have been astonished by the number of views that this particular video got, or has got, and continues to get, compared with my channel average, which is pretty much naff all. But the KRONOS, the Nautilus and the OASYS have been landmarks in the development of the workstation concept. I've said many times the other manufacturers have always looked at KRONOS as the workstation that they need to better. And while the Nautilus is its replacement, and as I've been told has some better sounds, I still think the KRONOS is the benchmark in this space. I agree, the OASYS open architecture has been in development since 1999. In fact, if you go on YouTube, you can find the videos of them releasing the PCI card back in 1999. But they didn't actually release the OASYS keyboard until 2005, and it was a turning point in synth development. It has always been a shame that no one has further developed the OASYS, seeing it as basically a real-time computer. And I really mean that. I really mean that I find the fact that they kind of stopped development of OASYS at 1.3.1, nobody has developed any further engines for OASYS. I'm sure some sharp cookie could do it. I'm just not sure there is enough OASYS in the market to actually make it financially worthwhile. And I guess longevity of the OASYS and the KRONOS and their second-hand value still being very high. I know what they're being sold for on the various portals, but not in the volumes that indicate that people are actually exiting the platform. After all, Tony Banks was using an OASYS at the last Genesis tour. It was in fact, actually, there was no new keyboards in Tony Banks's rig. It was an OASYS, a Wave Station, and something else. I can't remember what it was with the keyboards he was actually playing. And they were then playing a bunch of rack mount bus stuff and main stage, etc. in the background. But the OASYS was still plugged in and playing live. It did surprise me that Korg had persuaded him to have a Nautilus on stage. I have to be honest on that one. But there you go. I would have thought Korg would have paid him to have the Nautilus on stage. Even if he was just using it as a controller, to be honest. Anyway, I think when reviewing keyboards, reviewers miss two key points. Why do you need it? And I mean that quite sincerely. Why do you need it? Because in reality, quite often, you don't. Because the previous one isn't broken, and therefore, why do you need a new one? I refer to my previous point, Tony Banks. What does it give you? Rarely do they talk about your personal workflow through that particular keyboard, or through the current system that you have, or through the current workstation you have. There are many angles to buying a new keyboard. Most YouTubers concentrate on the sound, right? That's what they try to make. They sell the keyboard. It sounds fantastic. But that's not necessarily why you buy a keyboard. And that's quite an important thing to remember. It's not only the sound, the reason why you buy a new keyboard. It's how you work with that keyboard to generate your composition, how you play that keyboard live in your stage rig. They're the important things, and most reviewers on this medium completely miss that when they're reviewing a keyboard. All they do is they concentrate on the sound. There are a few exceptions, so before everyone jumps down my throat and says, "You're talking rubbish," I'm not talking rubbish, I'm talking fact. That is reality. People try to sell new keyboards on sound. They don't sell new keyboards on capability, function, and how you, as the keyboard player, will use it. Now, personally, if you're happy with the Nautilus and what it gives you, then you are a happy purchaser. It ticks most of your boxes. And as you said, you're prepared to forego aftertouch and Karma because it does do exactly that. And in which case, I think you have made the right choice. And therefore, it works for you. And on that note, I'll stop